Welcome to my home. This is the first episode of Racine area Cribs. Come on in. Well, welcome. Now we're inside. This is my trophy room. It's an extension of the great room in the house. I've got all my archery killed big game animals in here. They're all taken with the bow and arrow. I've killed all 28 of the North American big game species. It's taken me quite a while. It's been over a 30-year time period. I've also mounted them all. All the taxidermy work has been done by me. As we go here, we'll go around and point out the different species and whatever. At this point, the last species that I took was a desert sheep, which actually was Boone and Crockett as far as how big it was. That animal was the last of the 28. Killed that down in Mexico last October. It's been quite an event for me as far as a lifetime of experiences, and I guess first off I'd like to say that I consider myself a conservationist and then a sportsman slash hunter, archery hunter. My biggest thing is preserving the animals. A lot of people think that if you're a hunter that all you're out there is to kill and eliminate the species. Most of the fellow hunters that I know, we're here to preserve them. We love the animals and we want to see them around forever. We just feel that hunting them is a way to manage them properly. As far as the Grand Slam and Super Slam, I have both of those. The Grand Slam is killing all 4 of the North American sheep, which include the doll sheep, which actually is this white sheep to the left here. I don't know if you can see it, but we'll see it in a minute. And then the stone sheep, the Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, and the desert sheep. And then after that is the remaining 24 North American big game animals, which complete the Super Slam. And currently there's 14 people in the world that have completed the Super Slam with a bow, and 2 of them have them all in the record book. I'm looking forward to being one of the top 5 that have all of them in the record book. I'm hopeful. Hopefully, if my health stays and I'm able to climb the mountains and get out hunting, I'll be able to be successful in completing that. But at this point, I'm just happy to be where I'm at. I just can't explain in words how all the things that I've done and the friends that I've made and the people that have helped me get there. It's the memories more than the trophies that have become a part of my life now at this point. You can't put a value or a number on the friends you've met and the friendships that you'll have forever. Well, at this point, I want to take a little time and just focus on each animal a little bit, and I can give you some of the highlights or some particulars about it. Got 5 species of caribou. 4 of them are mounted in my trophy room right now. This is a Central Barren Ground caribou. This was shot in August, and the horns are actually in velvet. They're not hard horned yet, and the antler type horns, they grow and they're soft, and then have the fur on them, and then as they hard horn, then that falls off and they rub it off, and then they turn into this type here. This particular one is Newfoundland caribou, shot in Newfoundland. This one was number 6 in the world with the bow at the time I killed it. But you can see some differences in the horns and the coloring of the animals. This one here is actually an Alaskan moose. I shot that in Alaska. I was actually there during 9/11. Didn't even know that it had happened, and the pilot didn't come in, and they actually, as you guys know, the all airspace was locked out and he couldn't fly, and we were a little concerned he didn't show up, and then he showed up about 3-4 days late, and I could sense there was something wrong. At first I was going to tease him, and then he came in and he said said, everything okay? I thought something wrong with his family, and he said, we're at war. And I was like, oh my God. And it was quite a different experience being that far in the bush and not even knowing that, 9/11 took place or any of those things. I guess it kind of makes you realize how remote areas you're in sometimes. But this was a drop camp where me and another gentleman, they dropped us off with a tent, and we hunted them on our own with our gear. So the animal down below here, he's one that kind of was, I had a little bit of conflict on how I was going to mount him, and before I went, I did some pricing, and it was extremely expensive to tan the hide for a life size, and I was really undecided. And then on my way up, I talked to a friend of mine in Canada, and he said, oh, you can get them tanned up here for a lot more reasonable price. And I checked, and they were definitely a lot more affordable. And once I killed him, there was no other way that I wanted to mount him but life size. I mean, he reminded me, he looks prehistoric. I don't know what you think, but he's just so unique, and I just couldn't not mount him life size. It seemed like he'd waste the trophy if you didn't mount him full scale, and he's definitely unique. I mean, his guard hairs, some of the guard hairs on his side, they claim can be as long as 24 inches. And then they've got, I forget, like 7 or 8 different types of hair on the side. This is more of a coarse, and then you get up here and it's softer, and then there's a different hair in between his horns here, and you can see the coloring too. His ears are actually underneath here, but very unique critter. So I shot him up in above the Arctic Circle, up where the polar bear, where I was actually on island, Banks Island, and was fortunate enough to kill him. That was more of a cultural experience than it was a hunting experience. The people thing was so unique. That was the part that I enjoyed with my polar bear hunt too, is I actually lived with an Eskimo family and in their home, and I was there during their holiday, and they had all their relatives over, and we played Eskimo games, and they all thought I was a hero because I was the first man in their community that killed a polar bear with a bow and arrow. So I was like a big hero, and it was kind of different. They all wanted to congratulate me and shake my hand and say hi and whatever, and then they all wanted some of the meat too. That was kind of unique. I wasn't planning on taking it home anyway. I ate some up there, but that definitely went to good use. Everybody in the community got some of the meat and enjoyed it, so it was kind of neat, rewarding, satisfying, So as we're moving through the room here, the next species I got is a bobcat, which I actually killed in northern Wisconsin, not too far away from my cabin by Crivets area. He was actually a rewarding trophy. It took me 3 different tags to finally get him, so I was really happy when I was successful in getting him. I actually shot him last December. So. And then this is my stone sheep, which was killed in British Columbia. He was number 14 in the world with a bow and arrow at the time I killed him. Very unique animal, tough hunt, here to hunt in the mountains, and the sheep have such good eyesight and difficult. I actually killed him on the 7th day of the hunt, and was so happy. Sheep are difficult. They're just tough hunting, and you don't see a lot of them. And it's hard to find a good ram. So, and then over above the fireplace is my Canadian moose. That one was killed in British Columbia too. 55-inch spread on that moose. That's a heck of a nice Canadian moose. My grandpa, which a lot of people in the Racine area know as Coach Martin, and my dad, Connie Martin, my grandpa had an archery shop, and so I was introduced to archery at a very young age, and then my dad continued the hunting with us and got us going. Between my dad and my grandpa, I was always around archery, and then I hunted archery and with the gun, and then as I got older, I just got so involved with the archery part of it from the standpoint of having to get so close to the animal and just stalking and just I just was always in awe of being so close and being able to see their breath coming out of their nostrils when they're breathing, or watch their eyelashes move. And if you want to be a successful bow hunter, it's usually better to get in as close as you can and place a well-placed shot and make sure that you know, hit the animal well, and it dies in a timely manner rather than wound and maim them. So that was something that was always very important to me, is making a good shot and having where the animal doesn't suffer, you know. So yeah, I just got into archery and it just got hooked on it. It's just something that gets in your blood, and you just go after the animal, and you're more on his terms, I guess. Although I don't have any problem with any style people use. It's just one method that really interested me and was challenging. This is actually the skull off of this Alaskan brown bear here. At the time I shot him, he was number 6 in the world with a bow and arrow, and you can tell by the size of the skull that is a pretty formidable creature. I know I always say, and I was on 3 different stalks where I had brown bears within 30 yards of me, and after I got done with the stalk and wasn't successful or couldn't get a shot or whatever, I always say you could have taken my t-shirt and my underwear and wrung them out and filled a 5-gallon bucket full of perspiration. I mean, it's just every nerve ending in your body is twitching when you're that close to a bear this size with teeth that big and a head like that, which could kill you instantly, you know. So I still was so happy and fortunate when I got this monster. I didn't expect to ever kill one this big. Yeah, and I just thought I'd bring out this is an average sized black bear from Manitoba in Canada, and this is the brown bear here, and you can see just the difference in the skull size. I mean, how huge that bear really is. I mean, it's just incredible. When you're hunting the bigger bears, it's required by the government that you, the DNR in this case, and like in Alaska, or the provincial laws in Canada, that you have to have a guide, and 99% of the time the guide usually carries a backup, a gun. Personally, I don't carry a gun. Some guys, if it's legal, will carry a handgun or whatever, but I just don't really think it's worth it. I mean, I don't know. It's just a personal preference. Some guys wouldn't hunt without a large bore handgun, but I don't take a gun with me. I figure I gotta do it with my bow, and I better make it right with the bow, and if I screw up with the bow, I guess I'm in trouble, you know. Now as we move around the room, the smaller deer up on the top here, that's what I refer to as a desert whitetail. It's the proper terminology is cow's deer. They're located down in the southwest of U.S. or in Mexico. That deer was actually killed in Mexico. That deer is Pope and Young whitetail. It makes the record book easily. It's as you can see, it's very small bodied. With all the heat and shortage of water, they don't get real big, but it's definitely, you can see the whitetail characteristics. It's like a miniature whitetail. So, and then the deer, the animal in the corner there is another caribou. That's one that's also in velvet. That's a mountain caribou killed in northern BC. This is the third ram that I killed as far as the sheep. This is Rocky Mountain Bighorn. I killed him in Wyoming. It's a beautiful animal. I couldn't pass up mounting him and laying down for him. He really turned out nice. The only thing I haven't decided yet is I haven't made a base for him, but I just kind of like him where he is right now, just laying down. It just looks so natural and fits into the room so good. But that was a draw tag that I drew in Wyoming, and was successful enough to draw a non-resident sheep tag, and went out there and got a really nice ram. I tell you, sheep hunting gets in your blood. It's just, you get hooked on it and you just can't quit hunting them. They're such majestic creatures, and they're so high up in the mountains and hard to get to and hard to hunt. And it's just, shooting them with a bow is just really gets the old blood going and the ticker ticking. So They can move very fast for short distances, and they've they can travel long distances at a fairly good rate of speed too. And that's one thing about them. A good point is you can, if you bump them or spook them, they can just go for miles and you might never see them again. That's why you got to be really careful when you're hunting them, is to not push them too hard or they'll just blow out of the area and you won't see them anymore. So. Now in the corner here we've got several different species. I won't touch on all of them. This one's a unique one here. This is a Sitka blacktail. He was killed in Alaska. That was another hunt. I killed 2 of those. That was just another deal where a friend of mine and I, they dropped us off with our gear, a tent and a Zodiac, they call it. It's a rubber type raft, and we were in there for 10 days, and he killed 2 deer and I killed 2 deer and had some close encounters with brown bears. Actually, maybe wished we would have had a little more backup than we did. We had a pump shotgun with double-aught buck, but we had some fairly close encounters with brown bears that wished maybe we would have had a few more weapons with us rather than just the bow and arrow, but it certainly kept you on edge at night when you're sleeping. The 2 whitetails, that whitetail up here was killed in Manitoba, and the one in the corner is my largest. That's the whitetail was killed in Illinois. That, as you can see, is very widespread on a 23.5-inch spread, and he scores in the high 150s. Let's move up the wall. There's a antelope up there that was killed in Wyoming also. Then next to him's the buffalo that I killed. That's a free roaming buffalo I killed in British Columbia. Boy, those things are huge. I just could not believe how big that animal was. They figured he was between 2,000 and 2,500 pounds. Just a huge animal, and I killed him with 1 arrow. It was pretty awesome. The black bear in the corner is one of many black bears I've killed. I killed a lot of them. That one was killed in Alaska. That was also done on a do-it-yourself hunt. We just went up there on our own and put in baits and set up our stands, and I killed that bear on like the 4th day of the hunt. Moving down here, this is a Rocky Mountain goat. That one was killed in BC, in northern BC, up in Atlan. I'll tell you, goats are just like sheep. Oh man, a goat can move up a mountain so fast. They claim the bottom of their feet are like suction cups, and they can grip and climb mountains as faster than we could even think about, and they're just gone. I mean, you have to be very careful stalking them and moving in on them, and hopefully you can get a shot. Otherwise, no opportunities. This is a doll sheep, another one of the 4 sheep in North America. This one is a treasure to a lot of people because of its white color. They're a beautiful animal, and they're solid white, and it contrasts the horns and makes the horns look bigger, and etc. And I know a lot of people like to go after the doll sheep first just because of the white color on it. It's just a unique animal. I actually killed this animal in the Northwest Territories. They're also in Alaska, but that's pretty much the extent of their range. This one was number 24 with a bow and arrow. I always got a kick on this hunt. I went, and there was like 8 guys in camp when we got there, and they're all bow hunters, and I was just kind of laying low and kind of feeling things out, and everybody was talking about, how big of a sheep you're going to shoot. Are you going to shoot a 40-inch, or are you going to, and I'm just kind of listening. I'm thinking, boy, I just hope I get one. I don't really care how big it is. And finally they said, well, Gary, what do you? And I said, I'm just going to shoot any legal ram. And as it turned out, me and another guy were the only 2 guys that killed one, and I killed the biggest ram in camp, and he's over 40 inches on one side. So I was just ecstatic, but it was funny because like I say, I had no hopes of killing one this big. So it was a pleasant surprise. This is my grizzly bear. That's the last of the bears that I killed with a bow. There's 4 species of bears: the grizzly bear, the Alaskan brown bear, the black bear, and the polar bear. The grizzly I killed up in Alaska, and that was a spot and stalk. It was a unique experience with this bear. Me and a friend of mine, actually, guy that I had hunted with previously, got to be good friends with, and he was the guide, and we had seen this bear, and we went to ambush him, ran across this river, had to take our boots off and run across the river with water up to our knees and try to get down past him. We got past him, we were just getting set up, and the bear started coming. And I was ready and waiting, and I was kind of waiting on him. He had a rangefinder to check the distance, and kept waiting and waiting, and he never said anything. I turned to him and I said, "Stan, how far is he?" He said, "I can't get the rangefinder to work." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was getting very close. He was like at 25 yards. And all of a sudden at that point, he was starting to get in the direction where the wind was coming from us to him. And I don't know if the bear heard us or smelt us, but all of a sudden he was walking on all fours, and he stood up like this and was going like this looking at us. And I was at full draw aiming at him, and I had my sights aimed right at his chest, and I was hoping to God he wouldn't charge us. And he just looked at us like this, and we're both sitting there, holy mackerel. And then next thing you know, he dropped down on all fours, and he turned, and he started to go back the way he came, which they do a lot of times. If they feel unsure, they'll go back to the safe direction they came from. And at that point, I drew on him and shot at him, quartering away, and made a really, as later on I found out, a good shot, quartering and right up through his lungs and out the front of his chest. And he went a couple hundred yards and then died. So it was definitely a neat experience. This one is, we call it a pedestal mount. You don't hang it on the wall. You can hang it, put it out in the center of the room or wherever you want to put it. Basically, it's a nice Pope and Young whitetail, one of 4 that I've killed. This one's from Iowa, and just want to do something a little different, and also show the customers that come over what a pedestal mount looked like. And really turned out nice. I really like the mount itself, and like I say, it eliminates using up all the wall space in the room. You can put them out in the middle of the room or wherever you want to set them. Then moving up here, this is one of my most favorite mounts, as far as people that come into the house always, "Oh man, what's that? Is ever neat?" And that's cougar or mountain lion. I shot him in Idaho, and did a life-size mount of him, which he just seems to fit in the room so nice in that spot. And, I don't know, he definitely looks alive. This is Roosevelt elk. They're unique to the Oregon area, and it's a coastal elk. I always say they're in the rainforest area. It's kind of like jungle habitat, really thick and wet, and tough to hunt, because most of the times they're within close range, and all of a sudden the visibility's hard, so before you know it, they're there, and you can only see parts of them, and you got to be so careful as far as them seeing or scenting you when you're that close. This one, we actually called him in. He was in the rut, and I shot him at like 22 yards, and it was just awesome when they're in that close. My guide, I don't know, he was probably more excited than I was, but I decided to do kind of a unique mount here where he's really got a severe bend in his neck to have him look at you at a different pose from the wall. So this wall here, I just I don't know, ever since I was younger, whenever I killed a particular animal, I would make an 8x10 picture of it and hang it on the wall. And that goes back to that, to respecting the animal, and it's a trophy, and I don't know, something to good memories and whatever. So I just continued that on and have a wall full of pictures of all the different species. Well, in closing, I just would like to thank Car25 for giving me this opportunity to share my archery hunting experiences with everyone, and hopefully you've learned something, and you've gotten a little taste of something that I love and enjoy, and maybe you'll try it someday. Thank you. Well, Car 25, this is it. You've seen my mounts, you've seen my stuff. Get out.